Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Design Review Board meeting on Monday, January 19th. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and I should note that resident member Jackie is online, Councillor Beck is online, and the Manager of Development Planning, David Gundrum, is also online. So welcome, folks. Any declarations of conflicts today? Okay, seeing none, can I have an approval of the agenda? Moved. Okay, moved by His Worship, seconded by Councillor Beck. All those in favor? And perhaps what I'll say to you, Jackie and Councillor Beck, we will assume you're in favor unless you tell us otherwise.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yes? Okay. Okay. Adoption of the minutes from November 17th, 2025. Moved by Councillor, or His Worship, Mayor Brown, seconded by Councillor McCabe. Thank you for that. Any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, we can move into our first report, and I will note that the homeowners are here this evening, Jackie and Philip O'Halloran, and their legal counsel. We also have the planning officer, Laurel Palmer, here to present the package, and Director Michael Russ, and as I said before, David Gundrum, our Manager of Development Planning, is online today. So I just wanted to, remind everyone that we'll hear the presentations first, staff, and then the homeowners. And then from there, we will open it up for questions. And today, the decision for Design Review Board's role today is to determine whether the threshold in Section 3.14.1D of the Zoning and Development Bylaw has been met and whether it is appropriate to direct this application through a design review process. So I'll turn it over to Laurel.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted the pointer first. I don't have it. Just realized. So good evening, Madam Chair, members of Design Review Board. This is an application for a design review recommendation for 1B West Street. The purpose of the report is to seek direction from the Design Review Board on whether staff should approve an application to alter a building within the 500 lot area, being the property identified as PID number 365833, 1B West Street, or send the application through the design review process. So some background, the Planning and Heritage Department received this application. The property is located in the 500 lot area. It's zoned downtown neighborhood. It proposes significant renovations and alterations to the existing building. The property is not a designated heritage resource. However, the property does hold prominence along the streetscape and is appreciated as a prominent landmark within the city. The dwelling is celebrated by many within the city for its Georgian architectural style, and its design has been the subject of numerous island architectural enthusiast publications. Due to its grandeur, the residence has also been featured on several architectural tours of the city, along with many of the prominent homes that make up the established streetscape. This is being brought forward to the Design Review Board following the review of a recent building and development permit application submitted by the property owners. A review of the submitted architectural renderings indicates that the proposed renovations and alterations would result in significant changes to the character-defining elements of the property. Character-defining elements are designed and in the Zoning and Development Bylaw described as they include the overall shape of the building, its material craftsmanship, decorative details, exterior facade features, as well as the various aspects of the site and its environment. And Section 3.141D of the Zoning and Development Bylaw states, when in the opinion of the development officer, a development application that compromises the character-defining elements of any building in the 500 lot area, the application shall be forwarded to the Design Review Board for a recommendation. To either direct staff to approve the application or direct staff to send the application through the design review process. So 1B West Street, it's a prominent landmark. It's located on an established street in the 500 lot area that holds pronounced views from Victoria Park. The home was influenced by the Georgian adaptation style, and there are many prominent architectural elements that define its character, such as the massing, hipped roof, chimneys, symmetrical facade, center two-story portico, the fenestration, most of the moldings, including the swan neck molding above the door, dentalized frieze and pilasters, and the two-story sun porch and garage. And you can see many of those features here, two-story. Pilasters, hipped roof, the swan neck frieze. And then this is the view from Victoria Park. The recently submitted proposal to renovate and alter the property includes an addition of a third story, substantial additions on the north and south sides of the building, and the addition on the rear facade of a series of two second and third story balconies with a mixture of modern style glass panels, windows, and arched windows. The work would result in the removal of the sun porch and garage, which in staff's opinion would significantly alter the character defining elements of the property. And these are the architectural renderings that were submitted with the application. So this is the front facade, which is the east elevation.
Excuse me, just go back to that one. So when you say the east elevation, that's facing
West Street.
That's facing onto West Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
This is the west elevation facing the water in Victoria Park. This is the this is the south elevation, which would face the harbor as well, towards the waterfront. And this is the north elevation, which faces towards Beaconsfield. So I have included in the report a number of changes. We reviewed the drawings and we compared them to what has been submitted. And these are a number of the changes that we noticed in the drawings. So there would be the demolition of the south wing, two-story flat roof sunroom, replacing it with a three-story addition containing a garage on the first story. There's a hip roof in Georgian style, converting it to a mansard-style roof in Italianate style. Existing arched windows on the first story of the sunroom and existing garage are in keeping with Georgian style. The main body of the house contains 6/6 sash windows with Boston headers in Georgian style. They're being replaced with arched windows in Italianate style and have keystones and arched moldings. The front facade main body of the house would contain a series of arched windows on the second and third stories, and the first story window would contain two prominent garage doors and what appears to be floor-to-ceiling casement windows. There's Georgian-style shutters that are being removed. They're replacing with what appears to be either Juliet balconies or shutters on the lower half of the arched windows on the second story. I wasn't really able to discern which it was because of the elevations. They're very preliminary. There's a two-story front portico in Georgian style containing a semicircular window with a sunburst pattern being removed. That's being replaced with two-story Italianate covered porch with an additional living space above on the third story. The change featuring a centered mansard roof with two Italianate style windows on the second and third stories. The existing south wing sun porch and north wing garage are 1.5 stories and are set back from the main body of the building with its prominent front portico. These wings are set back from the main body of the house and are subordinate now, allowing the front portico to be the main feature of the house along the streetscape. The third-story additions to the south and north wings extend past the existing main body of the house, and they sit level with the portico, making it difficult to discern what portion of the building is original, which diminishes the prominence of the center portion of the front facade as it exists today. So staff are unable to determine from the drawings what form of cladding is proposed to be used on the exterior of the renovated building. The building currently has several chimneys which lead to its Georgian character, and the proposed architectural elevations show one chimney remaining. One of the most significant features is to the mass, scale, and bulk of the building. The additions almost double the size of the building, which completely changes the overall shape and mass of the building. The home is currently a 2-story dwelling with a hipped roof. The elevations show an additional story being added. I've included policies within the report from the official plan that speak to sending this application to design review. And I'm hoping you reviewed them. So, in conclusion, I'm just going to go back. Given the substantial architectural changes that are proposed to this building, staff are of the opinion that the character-defining elements of this property will be significantly altered and will result in a loss of an overall shape of the building, its materials, craftsmanship, decorative details, exterior facade features, massing, and scale. Considering the imminent risk posed by the proposed renovations and alterations, which would substantially affect the character-defining elements of the property, the Planning Department requests that the Design Review Board direct staff to advance the application to renovate 1B West Street through the design review process. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Laurel. And I think before we open it up for questions, we'll turn it over to the homeowners and their legal counsel. And I'll just turn the floor over to you folks.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. Firstly, Mr. Doug Coles, principal of Coles Associates, who intended to speak here this evening, could not be with us tonight. So my wife, Jackie, will read his submission into the record, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the Design Review Board. Thank you for the opportunity to speak against staff's written recommendation with respect to 1B West Street insofar as the requirements for a design review. I want to begin by saying that I appreciate the work of city staff and the intent behind protecting Charlottetown's historic neighborhoods. I share that goal. However, my concern tonight is not with design review in principle, but simply with how it is being applied in this specific case. First and most importantly, this building is not a designated heritage property. If it was, we would not be here because the city has a clear and established heritage designation process. This property at 1B West Street has never gone through that process, nor does it carry heritage covenants. If non-designated buildings are able to be treated as if they are designated as heritage properties, then the heritage distinction becomes meaningless, and owners of any building are left without clarity or certainty. Second, the context of purchase matters. Our clients purchased this property 2 years ago without any heritage covenants attached, thereby relying on the zoning and regulatory framework in place at that time. The expectation was that renovations would be assessed against those rules, not against an informal or narrative heritage standard applied retroactively. Third, this project has been and is continued to be designed by a registered professional architect. The proposal before you is not speculative, rushed, or amateur. It has been developed by a licensed, experienced professional architect operating under both ethical, and professional obligations. Architectural evolution is a legitimate practice, particularly when responding to structural conditions and modern performance requirements. Fourth, this renovation is necessary, neither optional nor whimsical. The building is experiencing documented deterioration, including dry rot. Significant intervention is required to preserve the structure and ensure its long-term viability. In cases like this, it is neither realistic nor responsible to assume that all existing architectural elements can be preserved exactly as they are. Fifth, uniqueness is not a planning criterion. Every home in Charlottetown's established neighborhoods is unique in some way. Familiarity or prominence are not regulatory standards unless formalized through designation. That is what heritage designation implies, a designation that does not nor has ever applied to 1B West Street. Sixth, architectural change does not automatically equal loss of character. Charlottetown's architectural history is both layered and evolving. This rendering of what could be simply represents an evolution of the building, not its removal. Finally, the threshold for design review should remain high and clearly defined. Section 314 is intended to address clear compromise of character-defining elements, not simply remove any personal discomfort with change. I reiterate that predictability in the planning system is essential to encourage reinvestment. These conditions were relied upon in effect at the time of purchase, not this retroactive attempt to impose conditions that simply did not apply at the time of purchase. And nothing has happened since that purchase to impose any new opinions or restrictions at this time. In closing, this is not a case of demolition or neglect. It is a case of personal reinvestment, professional experience design, and adaptive renewal on a non-designated property. Thank you for your time and consideration. Respectfully submitted by Douglas Coles, engineer at Coles Association.
Thank you for that, and you can continue on. Philip?
So I guess this will be our submission from Jackie and I, and we thank you again very much for the opportunity to speak. I guess we'd like to start with some background to give everyone the context and demonstrate how we've arrived here before your committee today. Now, we disclosed our intentions to the planning department even before we bought the property. And at that time, there did not seem to be any issue to proceed with our plans as discussed. So we decided to buy the property and we closed on it in December 2023. We shared the site plan and buildable footprint for both the now McDonald residence next door and ours, and received approval, I'll call it in principle, from the planning staff, as they saw no issue with it, and we proceeded to survey and subdivide the lot. Never any mention of any resistance rising against us. Apparently, the city was even asked without our knowledge if they would like to buy the lot from us. However, the city had no interest in purchasing it. The lot was sold for a single-family home with restrictive covenants, and a house design was developed by the owner with their architect, and they received a permit to build what they wanted. The design did not come to this committee, nor did it not go through the design review process to a design reviewer. The house is still under construction today, and the owners will be moving in very soon. Now, unfortunately, we have not received the same treatment. Regardless of new or existing, would every application not have to abide by the same rules and guidelines? There seems to be an overwhelming effort against us to block any improvement on this property. The first attempt to halt our plans was an attempt by a small neighborhood group to hold a neighborhood meeting with the other property owners on West Street in an attempt to have the entire street designated as heritage. Now, we were not invited to this meeting, and we were told by other residents that if we were not invited, they were not going either. This movement did not gain the support of the neighborhood, but certainly left us with an impression. Now, the second, more recent attempt was by planning staff themselves to impose a temporary heritage designation to the property. Again, this did not gain the support of the Heritage Board nor that of council either. Now, after waiting over 6 months for a permit and planning staff refusing to even issue us a footing foundation permit, for which I truly believe we are entitled, we find ourselves here for the third attempt to shut us down and send a single-family house renovation to design review, to which we object as unnecessary and overreaching. Grasping. If West Street's such an important streetscape to the city, how did the new house next to us now being built not come to this committee for design review? Now, we did take an opportunity to look through the report, as objective or as subjective as it may be. Our interpretation is, as it's been said, there are a lot of opinions. And quite frankly, the only opinion that should truly matter is ours. If the site is significant, our site is no different than that of the McDonald House under construction next door, the Dumbville residence 2 down, or the 6 others to the north. We're all on the same streetscape and the same waterscape. The waterscape views from Victoria Park are very nice, and all properties, both registered heritage resources or not, have installed large windows, the full wall of windows, obviously because of the view. Otherwise, you might as well be uptown here on Kent Street. But just because someone likes the view plane driving around Victoria Park doesn't give the city the right to control it. It's not a public property. These are private. The sun porch, as mentioned, is basically a summer cottage space that's been falling into the basement. The sun porch above it, that area is not of the original design and was added with a flat roof later in years, and then the rails removed sometime later and replaced with a partial hip roof. This area now houses a bathroom and has 7 windows in it, basically an ice box. It's kind of a glorified outhouse, and I've lived in the north. If you've lived in the north, you know what I mean. All the houses on West Street were built to be single-family residential homes, and all but a few have been chopped up into apartment buildings, Airbnb units, bed and breakfast inns, and whatever other change of use they saw fit regardless of its original intent. West Street is certainly not what it once was when I grew up. Tourist traffic comes and goes all day long and all hours, with early morning and late night flights, taxi drop-offs, and strangers roaming the street. West Street is not all about tourists walking up and down. Families live here too. Now, we agree classic historical architecture must be protected and celebrated. Of course, the work of famous architect William Harris at coveted 17 West Street is one of the best examples of a registered heritage resource property that has undergone a transformative renovation. The 4-unit apartment building we see today looks nothing like its original work, yet we put it on a pedestal and celebrate the work of who? It's not documented. I guess it's just an example of the evolution of architecture. I'd like to share that. And I'll send it a couple of copies around. The first picture is what we see today. The third picture is what it was originally built. Now, our West Street house is certainly one of a kind. It was copied from a plan out of an American magazine from the United States in the federal style with Greek revival influence, neoclassical, Adamesque, Roman and Georgian influence, having been renovated and added to at least 3 times over the years with many cut and paste interior makeovers. But most importantly, character-defining elements as celebrated in the presented report, in fact, have become a hodgepodge of multiple renovations that have occurred, conflicting roof lines, mismatched architectural decorative details, not to mention structural failings, mechanical faux pas, prolonged maintenance, neglect, and disrepair. Our West Street house is one of a kind indeed. Now, what we are proposing is our vision for a stately single-family home with a consistent and classic design theme throughout, with amenities we want and a home of this stature should have. Any house, new or renovated, would have them today, but no permit. 6 months and counting. I want to share with the committee a rendering. I guess it's a street perspective. We can send a couple of those around. So we hired an architectural design firm, Coles Associates. And through this process, we have already done a design review. Our plan was developed in accordance with the city's zoning and development bylaw, meets all the setbacks, and adheres to the Lot 500 design guidelines, all of them. It is our property right under the bylaw in the downtown neighborhood zone to build an addition within these parameters, and that's exactly what we plan on doing. We're not seeking any variance or special permission to do so, and there are many other uses that are available to us under this zoning for this property, but we choose to maintain the single-family residential home use. All in all, we believe our work would not only preserve the house at our expense, but would actually accentuate it. Now, we like the house and we see tremendous potential. And through this design process, we committed to maintain the prominent architectural features of the home, including its massing, chimneys, symmetrical balanced facade, the portico entry detail, the fenestration balance, most of the moldings, including the swan neck molding above the entry door, moving the garage and making it practical to the south side, turning and improving the sun porch concept to the back where the real view actually is, but first and foremost and most importantly, correcting its structural failing. We are maintaining the center portico that most locals know. But funny, since we've moved to West Street, we've come to realize that most locals don't even know where West Street is. The roof line theme is taken from over the existing garage and carried over the house to give it an address of autonomy and stature. The house remains as a two-story home as it is today, with attic dormers in the mansard taken from the existing design, allowing light into the existing attic space of the home. This is not a three-story house design, completely finished on 3 levels, but it should be noted that there is already an existing third-floor attic space in the house, and we do intend on maintaining it. The original garage door to the backyard has been replaced by a previous owner with a kitchen and converted to a wall of windows, plate glass, no operators or mullions, with a low slope pentagon-shaped shed-style roof. The original brick platform deck has been replaced by a wooden deck with a cabana-style covered roof with pillars. The new windows in our design will actually open as French doors as per the Lot 500 guidelines. The shutters are rotten as they are there now, falling off, and they're not consistent, nor do they even match around the house. All the windows need to be replaced. Most are broken, don't function or operate as they should, and all are sealed shut because they leak so badly. If we are going to replace them and invest in windows, we'll install the windows we want in accordance with the Lot 500 guidelines as we propose. Now, the contextual setback is probably the most important piece of the renovation and the streetscape perspective. This all goes back to our original buildable footprint presented to the city when the lot was subdivided. With the new McDonald House placed closer to the street to protect and enhance views for both properties, and with our house setback further than the house to the north, bringing the north and southern pieces forward is the best presentation for the front elevation, making them part of the main house. The prominent front 2-story colonnade with circular portico roofline and pronounced cornice moldings will remain as the focal point in the center of the house, with existing entry door and swan neck molding front and center. The southern and northern pieces that will now better align with the neighboring houses delivers a graceful flow as it should, with the streetscape, and looking down the street from the north to the south, there would now be a logical continuation of the existing neighborhood streetscape, a city infill objective achieved. Now, if the objective of the policy of the zoning and development bylaw is indeed as highlighted in the development officer's report, we couldn't agree more. If this is the basis of your argument to shut us down, then it's also the basis of ours to proceed with our renovation, as we seemingly want the same things. to protect and strengthen the character of the residential neighborhood in the Lot 500 area, and to protect and maintain the health and the stability of the existing residential neighborhood in the 500 lot area. Now, according to the report and the development officer's opinion, standing on the authority of 3.4D, 341D of the bylaw, the removal of the sunroom on the south and moving the garage from the north to the south is not significant enough to alter the character-defining elements of the property, and therefore, in our opinion, does not meet the threshold to trigger a design review in our home. And we want our house to continue to be a single-family home with the features we want, including a double-car garage, a new kitchen, proper mudroom for the kids, safe storage for their bicycles instead of in the living room, a master bedroom suite with walk-in closet and bathroom, things that you would design into a house for today. Not doing so would be like building a house today without internet or electricity. You just wouldn't do it. We remember our neighbors, the Dumvilles, 2 down, found some resistance when they wanted to build a home on the property they bought a few years back. But they were seeking a variance for their project. We are not. And the suggestions that were made toward their design, they chose not to include any of them, is how I understand it. Now, funny enough, our girls, and two of them are with us here tonight, wish our house looked like theirs. So somebody did something right, because they're very tough customers, hard to please. I think Aaron Stafford was the designer for that project, and he took a vision for his client. He followed the bylaw and the guidelines of the Lot 500, and he built their home the way the Dumvilles wanted it, because they followed the rules and they were allowed to do it. Now, this is the job of the architect, and exactly what Coles Associates has done for us. Now, if you were building a new house, you would build the house you want. And I've looked. I can't find where it says in the bylaw that I cannot design my own house or an addition to my house within the bylaws and the guidelines of the 500 lot. Couldn't find it. Now, we agree the design review process has its place. But here today, for a single-family residential home, you can't oppress our imagination or our desire to improve our asset, especially when it was done with our own sweat. The bylaw allows for us to build many different things on our land in this zoning, and we can't believe the city is fighting us over an addition and renovating our family's home. In summary, we are shocked in disbelief that the city has taken such an irrational and unreasonable position instead of simply supporting a local family, raising kids in downtown Charlottetown, and maintaining and improving a property as we have proposed. Honestly, it has taken the joy out of this experience and has forced us to fight for our property rights and our God-given right to improve something and make it better. And we ask you, committee, tonight to please support us and set aside this request so staff can give us our foundation permit for which we have applied in accordance with the bylaw and the Lot 500 design guidelines. We've spent our entire lives building houses for others. It's time to do it for ourselves before our kids are grown and gone. Building a new home for your family should be an exciting, memorable, and rewarding experience of a lifetime. We truly hope this is the outcome for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. And anything else?
I do have a submission.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Matthew Bradley, legal counsel for the, I guess, respondents here. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of being here all that often, but I'm here twice in the span of a month on one property. I've been practicing law for 23 years in this city, and I think this is my third time in those 23 years. So this is a bit of a unique situation to be back here before the city in regards to this property in the span of a month. And in reviewing the report submitted, I note that there were some relevant facts in the background information about the property in the application that were omitted or not included. First is that the report suggests that it is a recent application. As Philip has indicated, it's not really a recent application. It's been before planning for approximately 6 months now at this point in time, and planning has been aware of my client's intentions for the property for over a year. They submitted their, at least their, what they intended to build upon in the application for subdivision of the lot, which Philip has indicated is the McDonald property that was subdivided off, which indicated the intention to relocate the garage to the east side of the house, or sorry, not the east side, but the south side of the house. But what is also omitted is that we were here a month ago on staff's application for a temporary designation of this property as a heritage property. And that fact that it wasn't included in the report, I see as relevant. And it goes to the relevance of staff's objectivity and the fairness in this report. Staff has made it quite clear to my clients and throughout this process that they do not particularly like my client's vision for the property. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. Art is in the eye of the beholder. What I like and what someone else likes are not the same thing. But that doesn't mean that a property has to go to design review. Staff, or the Heritage Board rejected the request, staff's request for a temporary heritage designation. So that is the background as to where we are here now. Now we have a request from staff to send this matter to design review. My clients, after the designation for the temporary heritage designation was rejected by the Heritage Committee and Council, sought to proceed with renovations and asked for their building permit. Frustrated by the staff's delays in moving their application forward, my clients made an amendment to their application and requested a foundation-only permit, only to be informed that the foundation permit could not be issued because staff were of a view that what was being proposed may or could compromise the character defining elements of the home. Not that it did, but that it could or may. And as a result, I pointed this issue out to staff, that the requirement under the bylaw, section 3.14D, is not that staff be of the opinion, or the development officer be of the opinion, that the changes could or may compromise a character defining element, that they have to be of the opinion that it does. And it's only after I pointed out that point that staff then changed their opinion to, no, our opinion is that it does compromise. And now they say we want to submit this towards design review. So what is not clear to me in reviewing staff's report is, are we putting forward a foundation permit only for design review? Or are we putting the whole package before design review? Because what my clients have asked for at this point in time is for a foundation or footings permit. So the only complaints that I see in staff's report that relate to a foundation permit or a footings permit is the suggestion of the increasing of the size will somehow take away from the grandness or the prominence of the home. This statement conflicts with the very definitions of grandness and prominence. The Cambridge Dictionary defines grandness as the quality of being important and large in size or degree, and defines prominence to be the state of being easily seen or well known. I fail to see how increasing the size takes away from the grandness or the prominence of the home. Again, art is in the eye of the beholder, though. One thing that staff fails to point out in the report, though, is the size of the foundation and the additions to the home meet all the requirements of the bylaw and the setbacks of the bylaw. This is not a situation or an application that requires variance of the setbacks, or in the words of staff in the report to the Heritage Board, as submitted, the proposed work is considered as of right under the zoning and development bylaw. Neither development officers, design review officers, design review board, nor council have the authority to overrule the bylaw. We are a society that respects the rule of law, and the rights our laws afford our citizens. The bylaw gives my clients the right to build the foundation they have applied to build. If staff is unhappy with the rights afforded to my clients, it's not their place to suggest to this board that this board has the ability to take away the rights of my clients or somehow has the ability to curtail or limit my clients' rights. If staff have an issue with what my clients are permitted to build on the property based on the setbacks set out in the bylaw, then they should seek an amendment to the bylaw, not try to effect an amendment or variance of the bylaw through the design review process. My client's right to build on the proposed footprint is unquestionable. It is interesting to note how staff's treatment of my client's application and the application for the infill construction of a single-family home on the lot that was subdivided from my client's property differ. The infill construction was not sent to design review for any of its permits, and my client's property is being sent or being requested to be sent to design review for a foundation permit. It begs the question why and raises the issue of fairness. Now, the board can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that single-family homes that are not heritage homes do not regularly come before the design review board or process. Again, the question becomes, why my client's property? Why can't this single-family home get a permit for an as-of-right foundation and an as-of-right renovation? Now, if anyone, the people here have a better knowledge of the Hansard of the meetings that take place in this room than I do. But if you were to review the Hansard of the City Council's meeting over the last number of years, there's been a lot of discussion about affordable housing and how this city needs to make it more affordable for individuals to live in the city. The city staff, council, and volunteers need to be commended for their efforts to make housing more affordable. A large portion of the city's initiatives have been focused on making multi-unit housing more affordable, which is understandable because that is the type of housing with the greatest impact. However, those same concerns and pressures about affordable housing also apply to single-family homes. In this instance, staff are requesting the city make it more expensive for this family to live in their single-family home by adding to the cost of their renovations through a costly design review process. The city actually makes my clients pay a fee to the city to go through this process that my clients do not want to go through. How is paying the city this additional fee making this family's renovation for their home more affordable? Shouldn't we be encouraging families to invest in homes in the 500 lot area? Making it, and not making it more expensive for them to do so? Now, if there was a good reason to send this property to a design review process, that's fair. That is why the process exists. But a careful look at the reasons presented by staff to go through the costly process of design review leads to the conclusion that the process is unwarranted in the circumstances. A waste of my client's money, a waste of city resources, volunteer time, and taxpayer money. Now, as for the report itself, in the background section on pages 5 and 6 of the report, staff indicates that the property is not a heritage property, but then goes into a rather lengthy discussion about the irrelevant subjective heritage characteristics of the property, which did not persuade Heritage Board nor Council on the application to have the property designated as a temporary heritage resource. In including the background section, though, staff writes, a review of the submitted architectural renderings indicates that the proposed renovations and alterations would result in significant changes to the character-defining elements of the property. First, as Philip indicated, my clients disagree that the changes alter the character-defining elements of the property. My clients are of the opinion they have incorporated and respected the character-defining elements of the property into their renovations for the property and have hired an architect to do so. Second, I'd point out that change in and of itself does not automatically lead to a conclusion that the character-defining elements of the property are being compromised. It is entirely possible to make changes and the changes not compromise the character-defining elements of the property. Staff has identified the home is one of a kind in the city. This may be true, but it is true for almost all homes in the 500 lot area. That is what makes the area a special planning zone. And in the analysis portion of the report, staff seems to indicate the addition of a third story somehow compromises the character-defining elements of the home. However, staff also indicates there are a number of homes on the street that are three-story homes. Now, Philip has discussed that the renovations do not actually add a third story. It's maintaining the attic space that is presently there with windows that may give an appearance of a third story, but it's simply letting light into the existing attic space. Regardless, the ability to have a third story on the home is an as of right addition. And the design review process does not have the ability to deny this as of right development. The proposed renovations do require the removal of the sun porch and the garage. The sun porch is not part of the original structure, was an addition, is non-functional in the winter, and is an afterthought. It is not a character-defining element or portion of the home. The current garage, in contrast to the rest of the home, is unimpressive, non-functional for today's families. And the garage is not a character-defining element of the home. It's more akin to simply a garage. As part of the analysis, staff then proceeds with a critique of my client's plans by way of a table found at page 7 of the report. And the other major change that staff highlights in their critique is the change in the roof to a mansard roof. Now, the current hip roof is, to say that it's nothing special about a hip roof. It is a hip roof, but this hip roof is the result of many additions results in many different roof lines as a result of the numerous additions to the property over the years. Again, if you were to look at this house or this property, is it the roof that catches your eye? Like, is the roof a character-defining element? A change in the roof to a mansard roof is not a change to a character-defining element. The change to a mansard roof only adds to the grandeur of the property, similar to how the mansard roof adds to the grandeur of the property of Beaconsfield. Now, staff goes on to outline their concerns about the additions in relation to the original structure and articulate their concerns by stating, the 3-story additions to the south and north wings extend past the existing main body of the house and sit level with the portico, making it difficult to discern what portion of the building is original, diminishing the prominence of the center portion of the front facade. They do extend out further than they previously did. But they do so as of right. There is nothing design review can do to address this concern of staff. My client has the right to go that far out in accordance with the bylaw. Design review cannot overrule the bylaw. So we are then left with staff's concern about the style of the windows and the loss of shutters for balconies. I fail to see how these are defining elements of the home or defining characteristics of the home. Are we really going to send this single-family home through the design review process over a change from sash windows to arched windows and shutters being removed, when in all likelihood the removal of the shutters do not require a building permit? Staff concludes its analysis by saying, the home is currently a 2-story dwelling with a hipped roof. The elevations show an additional story being added, but of note is the size of the additions, particularly the one on the south end of the building. The additions almost double the size of the building, which completely changes the overall shape and mass of the building. Such a significant change to the overall shape and mass of the building diminishes the prominence of the building's appearance on the site and the streetscape. All of these changes that this paragraph speak to are as of right changes authorized in the bylaw, which design review has no authority to change or limit. Staff also fails to advise how increasing the size and mass of the building diminishes the prominence of the building's appearance on site and the streetscape, when intuitively increasing the size and mass only leads to an increase in the prominence. This statement or opinion is hard to reconcile with the facts. Now, from reading this report and the report to the Heritage, it becomes clear that staff do not like the changes my clients want to make to their home. That's fine. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. But these are as of right changes. And the staff's report or their opinion in their report to these as of right changes seems to be being colored by staff's personal opinions or the unsuccessful attempt to have the property designated as a temporary heritage resource. So much so that any reference to the former application to have it designated as a temporary resource was omitted from their report. Again, everyone is entitled to their opinion. But this is my client's property. It's their opinion. It's their home that should carry the day, or should carry significant weight. Now, a difference of opinion or personal taste is not enough to form the basis to send this property through design review. The difference in opinion has been examined against my clients as of rights. Has to be examined against my clients as of rights. And what design review actually has the ability to do. When the changes are examined against what is permitted by the bylaw and what aspects of the changes design review actually has control over, it is apparent that there is very little, if anything, the design review process can do to address the concerns of staff. Because what staff is asking design review to do is to apply heritage standards to a property that does not have heritage designation. And considering whether my client's application needs to proceed through the design review process, I want you to ask yourself the following questions. 1, how is design review applicable to an application for a foundation-only permit? Why are staff making this unusual request for a single-family home to go through the design review process? What changes can my clients make as of right? And what can the design review process actually do to address the concerns of staff? If you ask yourselves these questions, I will believe you'll come to the correct conclusion that this is not a matter that should go through a design review. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything else from you folks before I turn it over to the board for questions?
Well, thank you very much. It's great.
Okay, well, thank you both to the staff for the report and for the homeowner. So I can open it up for questions.
I
Councillor
think,
McKay.
Madam Chair, I think the planner has something. Could we ask her for just, is that all right?
Yeah, we can. I did just open it up
Yeah,
to
yeah.
questions from the board, but was there something that you wanted to add?
Yes, I wanted to clarify a few points. We did not receive the application 6 months ago. The application was submitted on September 2nd, and we received an updated foundation permit a week and a half ago. So the foundation the foundation plan changed a week and a half ago, which was submitted. The original, yes, and then there was another foundation permit was applied for on December 20th, and then we received a revised foundation application a week and a half ago. So it has changed several times. This has not been 6 months in the making. We would not issue a foundation permit prior to this going through design review if the board chooses to send this through the design review process, for the simple reason why, when it goes through design review, we've never sent an application, we've never issued a building permit for a foundation prior to design review because the foundation could change depending on the size and scale of the building and what the design reviewer says. The fee for design review is not costly. It's a fee, but in the scheme of what it costs for a project like this, the overall fee is $1,900. It's $400 for the application, and it's $1,500 for the architect to review. I would also point out that this application is not based on the heritage temporary designation. This is strictly on the design review process, which is outlined in the bylaw in section 3.14 under design review. And that's why this application is before the board today. I would also like to note that the comments by Mr. Bradley, that it's my personal opinion. This is not my personal opinion. I am a professional planner, and this application was brought forward with my professional opinion. And that is the reason also why Heritage was admitted from this, because this application is not here for Heritage. It's here for design review. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything else from the homeowner before I open it up for questions? No? You're good?
Okay.
Okay. Council, or your
Yes.
worship?
Could I, Melissa, could you put the photo up on the screen? So the photo that you're going to see is a photo from Heritage Houses. It was a book that was produced or authored by James McNutt. And the cover is the Du Bois House. So it is recognized as a prominent heritage house. Jackie, could I ask, who designed this? Who's the architect? JV. But Coles Associates. Yeah, what architect? JV. JV. Was Scott McNeil or JV? Scott McNeil.
their firm, there's engineering.
Yeah,
There's engineering involved.
I know, but the architect was JV. That's all I'm asking. I'm just wondering who the architect was.
Scott McNeil's.
Okay. So if we go to 3.14, Jackie, design review. 3.14 subsection 1, the design review process shall apply to the following building and/or development permit applications for any affordable housing development in or outside the 500 lot area and properties located within the 500 lot area as defined and described in Appendix H, which outlines the 500 lot area. 3.14 subsection 1A, new construction of any non-residential use or multi-use residential building. So my understanding of one subsection 1A of section 3.14 is a review would be given for a new construction of any non-residential use or multi-unit residential building. Is that correct? Michael, or? 3.1, it's on page 28 of our zoning development bylaw.
Yes, your worship, any new construction of a it applies to new construction of any non-residential use.
Okay,
Or
so,
multi-unit
so
residential
the McDonald home
is
is
residential.
a new construction home.
Is
It's not
new constru-
non-residential.
And
So
it's
that's why it's not.
single-detached.
Is that why it's not covered under the design review?
That's true,
Okay.
you're correct.
The other point I want to make too is that made reference of 17 West Street, that's Von Smith and Myrtle Jenkins Smith House. There are 4 units in that, did you say? 4 units, but those units were wrapped into our STR because they were non-conforming use, so they're STR. I don't think they rent them out for long-term rentals. And and Matthew and Philip and Jackie, I appreciate that you've put a lot of work into a lot of different properties around the city. Appreciate that. And Matthew, I appreciate your knowledge and understanding of the heritage bylaw because you've covered a lot as a legal representative. But when I look at the design review process, we're not shutting anything down. All we're doing is asking a third party, correct me if I'm wrong, a third party architect to take a look at this design and ask if it applies to the sections that are referred to in the report. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that is correct, your worship.
Okay, that's all my questions for now.
Thank you, your worship. Councillor McCabe?
Okay,
So if this is as of right, though, and it's not a new build, and it's not for commercial use, and it didn't meet heritage designation, I'm still a little bit perplexed of why we're looking at it based on, like, when I read our policies, Laura, I did, it shall not permit new development infill, and you're saying we didn't do that with the house next door. We went through the process of heritage already, where that didn't meet, according to council, didn't meet the criteria for that. Now, we're looking at no variances, no extra asks, but why are we plunking this into a design review? I'm just a little bit confused around that. Like, do we put many application for renovations in the 500 lot area through design review?
Through the chair. This applies to section 3.141D, which says, in the opinion of the development officer, a development application that compromises the character defining elements of any building in the 500 lot area, the application shall be forwarded to the design review board for recommendation to either direct staff to approve the application or to direct staff to send the application through the design review process. That is why it's here, because this is an existing building on an important street within the city. It's within the 500 lot area, and there are character defining elements that are being changed, if not completely lost. One being the roof. The roof is a significant character defining element of this property. With the changes that were shown on the architectural drawings, staff has to do their due diligence to direct this application to the board. The board can choose not to send this through the process. However, staff has to do their due diligence and follow the process as outlined in the zoning and development bylaw to direct this to the board for a recommendation.
Okay, and I'm just looking for clarification. So in your view, and I respect your opinion and your view, of course, but I do have questions on, like, so would the house next door that was being built on a prominent street in Charlottetown not have met criteria at that point to also go through design review if it's prominent street and we're trying to maintain streetscape?
So through the chair, the house next door is a new build. The bylaw doesn't require the new build to go through design review.
But this doesn't either. It's your opinion that we should, right?
This is, as per that section of the bylaw, I'm giving my professional opinion to the board, and it's up to the board to decide whether they agree with my opinion or not. Given that it was a new build and the bylaw does not require single-family dwellings that are new build to go through this process, I did not have the authority to direct the new build through design review.
Okay. And my last question right now was, so the owner indicated when he started that he had met with planning staff whenever he started this process prior to purchasing the house, and was not given any indication at all that this was going to embark on this journey at that time. Is that?
Through the chair, that is incorrect. The owner came in to visit me in my office and had a discussion with me. He was applying for a subdivision of the piece of property that was to the north of the house. We reviewed the bylaw. I sent it to Environment because I didn't even know if we could even subdivide it. And we did some investigation into it. It did meet the qualifications to subdivide. I spoke to him at the time and I said, because he had indicated on his plans that there were going to be renovations to the house, and I said that this would more than likely have to go through design review because it is in the 500 lot area, and that it would not be supported by staff if they were going to completely change the character of the home. And he said at that time that they weren't doing that. But all we had to go off at that time was a site plan with a square drawn on one side and the other side showing a future addition. There was no details, no nothing.
I have one last point that I want to get clarified, and then my head should be clear, because that was a lot of information that came tonight. But with design review, and this is probably to the property owner more than to Laurel, if they're allowed to answer my question, but why not go through design review? What's the risk of going through a design review? Because I know you are going to take pride in the home you're going to do, because from what I understood, it's the city's dime that pays for the design. That's what the mayor thought.
The planner outlined, it will cost $3,800 when it's done. And, you know, and as the planner pointed out.
1,900.
I thought you
1,900.
said 19 and 18 and 4.
No, 1,900 total. 1,500 plus 400 for the application, 1,500 for the design reviewer, for a total of 1,900.
Okay, so what was the other 1,800 for?
I didn't say 1,800.
Oh, okay, my mistake. So, I mean, so it's 2,200 then, 1,920, or is that 1,900?
1,900.
Yeah, so that's a cost to the homeowner, just to clarify. That's not a cost, like the city's not going to pay for that. Go ahead, though. Councillor McCabe, you had a question for the homeowner?
It was just, to me, is you have a beautiful property there. I guess I thought, based on earlier conversation, that it was not incurring any more costs, but I always think, I mean, if your drawing's beautiful, so the pillars are still there. I'm going to struggle with this one, so I need to hear Brian ask his questions.
Well, before Brian asks his question, you had a question for them, so if you guys want to go ahead and.
Well, and if somebody on a project has a great idea, a change order can be issued at any time, and a new idea or great idea can be incorporated into any project. But this process can be like a merry-go-round, and at what point does it end? We've talked about opinions.
We've hired an architect already. If we don't agree with their third-party architect, we have to reapply, which is another fee, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I believe it's covered under that 1,900. I'd have to clarify that.
And there would also be a cost for you then to have the drawings redone by your own architect
Well,
if there was
it's just,
changes to be.
where does it end? This isn't a carte blanche. Time is ticking on. Like
It's
I
our
said,
house,
our
our
kids are gonna be
design.
grown and gone. We're doing this for them. I'm happy to live in a tent, but we want it to be in the ground in September, October. I wanted the foundation work, and I did ask to have foundation work issued in October. And we got lost in the shuffle, I guess. There was a small adjustment to the northern foundation line. It was updated by Mr. Gundrum within the system itself. Then, out of the blue, we get a call that we're going to a heritage temporary designation. I mean, how many delays or obstacles get thrown at us? I mean, either we're gonna do what we're gonna wanna do, or Jackie has the authority to sell the house. Whomever has sell it. If we can't have the house we want, then sell it.
Brian, go ahead.
I think this is a very important discussion, and I think the balancing between private interest, community interest, neighborhood values, and understanding the true complex sense of place that is talked about in every heritage decision is critical to have dialogue. And I respect the homeowners' passion and their sense of trying to improve the home that's there. And I don't disagree with all of the functional comments that have been made about, inadequacies of the envelope of the building, the windows, all of those things. I've worked on many restoration projects over my career, which now is in the past, and I have sort of a real sense of how important this is for the future of Charlottetown, to have this type of conversation. I commend staff for the thoroughness with which they professionally taken the sense of what the purpose of design is in the community and applied it to this situation. And I've heard from the homeowners who have their values that they're trying to put into this decision. I've heard from Doug Coles' submission, and I respect Doug. I professionally, I've worked with him over a 50-year career. But he is a mechanical engineer by profession, and his firm does have a qualification to be capable of doing architectural projects. I've heard Matt Bradley's very compassionate and detailed critique about some of the architecture that I've learned things tonight. And I'm probably sitting here as a retired architect saying, well, we've heard from a planner, we've heard from the homeowners, we've heard from the staff, we've heard from neighborhood in terms of feedback, and we've yet to hear from a second architect to provide a balance in terms of what is fair to the homeowner, fair to the neighborhood, fair to the community. We have been recognized as a significant community with a built heritage that's worth protecting. We're not here tonight to say that this design that's been submitted is good or bad, should or can't be done. All that the planning staff have done is outline, based on the criteria, the significance of the changes, the detail that has been expressed requires further consideration. And that's why the thoughtful guardians that worked hard to develop the principles of heritage preservation in this community thought it was worth putting in place a wise council to be a grounds not for asserting design opinions, but for developing a process where you can have independent architectural critique from another professional architect. And even though I'm here sitting on this board, I'm not going to prejudice what I think about this design. I'm going to look at it as a process decision. The process that has been followed by the staff is correct, in my opinion. And I think it is for the protection of the values of the community and all those involved in how we view decisions of this nature that we should be considering this for a design review process. I think it's reasonable. I think it's fair. And I look over at the wall and I see some of the mayors who I have personally worked with over a 50-year period of time. And I think about the words of Catherine Hennessy and Irene Rogers, who passionately tried to advance in the community what heritage is and how it impacts the future of this city. So I'm proud to say that in that spirit, we should be following staff's thoughtful advice, not putting undue burden on the individuals, but there will be time that will have to be merited in this, and proceed to a design review process. And I would recommend that we take that stand.
I second.
So are you putting a resolution on the floor?
Yes.
That you get, and you seconded that? Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. There's lots more questions, I'm sure, that can be answered. But if there's a resolution on the floor, we can proceed now with the resolution on the floor, but there's still questions for that. I just, thank you, Brian, by the way, for your words. I just want to remind everyone, and there's a lot of language happening here tonight, that is heritage and heritage advocacy. And although, we all are very much know the importance of heritage, I just want to pull that back and remember that tonight is about design review, not about heritage advocacy, because we've already done that, and council has made that decision. So when I hear language of landmarks, one of a kind, celebrated, imminent risk, loss of grandeur, just cautioning us all that that is heritage and this is design review. So, Councillor Beck, would you have any questions? The resolution is on the floor, moved by Brian and seconded by his worship, but there's still lots of opportunity for you to ask for clarity, questions, etc. So I'm just putting it out to you or Jackie.
Yeah, I have a couple of comments. Brian kind of stole some of my thoughts that I had. I am going to go back to the heritage discussion, and one of the reasons I supported that decision was I wanted that avenue to be further explored, and it wasn't saying that we are going ahead with a heritage designation. It basically said there was enough heritage defining elements that warranted further discussion. Ultimately, I'm not going to rehash a whole lot of that discussion, but ultimately it was decided by Heritage Board and then again by Council to not go with the heritage designation. That's fine. But one of the things it was, if I remember the conversation correctly, one of the reasons for not going down the heritage designation road was because this application would be subjected to a design review process under the 500 lot guidelines. And that was a pretty clear message that was sent during that meeting. And I believe that there was really, I don't remember any opposition to people saying, because that was sort of the protection that some people may have been looking for. So then we come to the meeting here today, and it just seems like, well, no, let's not do the design review process at all. Let's just let this go ahead. This is what I want. This is what I want to do, and I'm speaking on the applicant's part. So I think that we have to respect process, and I didn't feel that we respected process in the first time. That's okay. But I think the case has been made strongly enough here to support process. And let's see what that second opinion says. And let's see whether there is merit to it or there isn't merit to it. And again, much like the first time, we are talking about such a significant streetscape. We are talking about a significant heritage area of Charlottetown. So I'm going to support the motion, and I would not be comfortable if we did not follow this through to the fullest extent given the importance of the street that we have and the project that we have before us. So I'm going to support the motion.
Jackie, do you have any questions? Thank you, by the way, Councillor Beck.
No questions that haven't already been asked. I would also be in support of the motion for the same reason Councillor Beck outlined around, although I understand that it's not optimal in terms of speed. I do think process is important and precedent is important, and that would be why I would vote in support. But nothing else to add.
Thank you for that, Jackie. Councillor McCabe?
Yeah, I know. I'm back and forth here too, to be honest, because I'm not a planner nor am I a designer. I look at the picture and I'm like, oh, that's really pretty. And although this property wasn't supported for the heritage designation, Deputy Mayor, that decision doesn't remove us from the responsibility to ensure that new development or renovations in this area fit the character of the neighborhood. And for me, it is a historically recognized area. And even though without designation, I think design review remains an appropriate planning tool to maintain the integrity of the neighborhood as a whole. So I will also be supporting the recommendation to go through design review.
Thank you for that, Councillor McCabe, and all great points. I don't think the area has been actually historically recognized, although I don't think currently right now Charlottetown doesn't have any historically recognized areas, which is why we're embarking on the new heritage preservation bylaw. I could be wrong, but that was my understanding from Director Russ. Which
It is in
one
the
of reasons.
500 lot area.
Yes, it is, but it is the 500 lot area,
And-
absolutely.
And that is the recognition.
Yep, that's right.
It's,
Yep,
if this was in North River Road, would not be under discussion.
yep, for sure. And no, so thank you for that. I just have a couple quick questions, and that would be, if it's the will of the board to support staff's recommendation, are you able to just outline timing as we hear from the homeowners, time is of the essence for them, and do we know, because I know in the past I've heard, sometimes it takes months and months and months, and I'm just wondering, Laurel, if you know, if this does proceed to a design review, what is the time frame that we're looking at?
Yes, Madam Chair, we would need an application from the homeowners. Then we would look to secure a design reviewer. I'm going to say a reviewer may take a month, anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, depending on the workload that they are dealing with. And then once we receive the report, we would forward that to the homeowners for their review and their architect to review. If there's any changes that are recommended in the report, they have the opportunity to revise the changes or revise the plans to match the changes or meet with the architect, them and their architect to collaborate. And they also have the opportunity to push forward with what they currently have after the design reviewer comments and risk the board not approving.
Okay, thank you so much. So just to understand that, so you're saying that we could be here this time next month and it could be completed? Is that what I'm hearing? Just for clarity, is all.
Yes, Madam Chair. I'm not going to guarantee that we'll be here this time next month, but it would be my hope.
Right, so just if the homeowner puts their application in tomorrow and they do their part, then the
We
city
would-
does their part, then
We would look to
we've got a month.
secure a reviewer.
And so 30 days kind of a thing, if everyone lines up, so. 'Cause I
And
know
then
in
it
the
would
past
depend
we've had
on-
struggles with finding reviewers and getting them to do stuff, so just highlighting those things that you don't potentially see that as a hiccup in the process.
I really can't tell you how fast the reviewer is going to act. It depends on who we get, what their workload is, and when their report is received by us. The other thing, when the report is received, we have to give the property owners an opportunity to review the report, them and their architect, and they then have the opportunity to either change their design if there's changes warranted in the report, or they can proceed as is. And then it's determined on whether, will the board support the reviewer's recommendation, or will the board support the plans as they stand, if they chose not to alter them. So, I mean, it's going through the process. I mean, we would work as quickly as possible to find someone, and hopefully they would move fairly quick.
Great. No, I appreciate that clarity. And I just had one more quick point of clarity out of curiosity, and I think I'd heard Councilor McCabe ask me about this earlier, and I didn't have an answer, and I said I would ask. Do you have examples of similar residential homes in the 500 lot area that that would exemplify what we're doing here tonight? Like, do you have an example?
I'm not really following your question on that. Like, a similar type of house architecture?
Similar situation where a single-family home, like I've been on planning for 7.5 years and design review board, and I don't remember ever seeing a single-family home come through design review that it applied for that through the 500 lot area. That's all. I'm just trying to, find examples. That's all.
Yes, Madam Chair. 10 Prince Street is a good example. That's a single-family dwelling. That was sent for a temporary designation, and it went through that process first. Otherwise, it would have been proceeding through design review because they were looking to do some
Right.
significant changes.
And I understand that, but 10 Prince Street ended up with a heritage designation, so I was looking for an actual design review example. But if you don't have one, it's okay, I just was curious.
But if 10 Prince Street hadn't have received the temporary designation, it would have proceeded through the same process.
Thank you.
I guess,
Anyone
Madam Chair.
else have, yep, go ahead, to the homeowner.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned 10 Prince Street because they actually did nothing. And to your point, I think it would be very difficult to find a house where there was property next to it that allowed for an addition that has actually happened in the city. I did some looking and I couldn't find anyone. I did find 17 West. That one jumped out at us. And if you look at what I submitted there and sent around, and that's a registered heritage resource. Now, back to the mayor's point, if we had an empty lot, we build what we want, correct? No different than the McDonald family?
Yep.
No, if we have an empty lot,
Yes, that is correct. That is correct.
You don't have to follow the
okay, because we are
the
not,
guidelines of the 500 lots. You build what you want.
Yeah, and.
we are
and-
not heritage.
Yep, and the planner did confirm that earlier on in her report, that the single-family homes that are new builds don't fall under design review.
Yeah, so regardless of whatever publication a picture of the house was posted to, we are not a heritage house, not a heritage property.
I often wondered if James McNutt put that on the cover of his book because it was the prettiest house. Because it's not
So,
heritage.
to answer your question, Phil, no, your home is not heritage, but as Brian did point out, you do exist in the 500 lot area, and that is our only area in the city of Charlottetown that has guidelines in
And
terms of 500
if
lot.
our lot were empty, we would build the house we want.
Without following the guidelines.
That is correct.
No different than the McDonald family.
That is correct.
Can I ask for clarifications? Could I ask just to ask our planners? Is that standard? I just want to know, because that's a good question.
Through the chair. So if it's an empty lot and it's a single detached dwelling in the 500 lot area, it does not require design review. And that's the way the regulations were written back when we adopted the 500 lot area plan. I'm not saying I agree with that. but that's the way they're currently written.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification, which was the same clarification I had just given. Yes, go ahead to the homeowner.
We weren't wondering if a new build has to go through design review. We were wondering if they have to abide by the guidelines of the 500 lots.
I'm going to hand that over to the Jedi, Laurel.
Yes, Madam Chair, there are design guidelines for the 500 lot area. And I would have to do a deeper dive in the bylaw to see what would apply, but as far as I'm concerned, for the most part, there are no strict design guidelines for new builds. Now, the property, at the end of Richmond Street near, the O'Halloran's homes, Dumville's property. Yes, at the time that went through design review, but they actually volunteered to go through design review because they were applying for a variance. And it wasn't required under the bylaw, but they actually did go through.
I recall that. I wasn't on council at the time, but I do recall that. Go ahead to the
So again,
homeowner.
That process is a matter of opinion. As the Dumvilles did go through the design review, they adopted none of the recommendations or suggestions that the design reviewer made to them. They built the house they wanted. So back to my point earlier, if the lot is empty, we build the house we want. No design review, nobody's opinion,
And no guidelines.
and no guidelines. So you can't have it, you can't suck and blow at the same time. Like you have to take a stance. And like I said in my submission, there's either rules for everyone or there's no rules for anyone. I thought when we had a meeting with Mr. Gunn and Mr. Roos before Christmas where I suggested, and this was before Mother Nature threw a serious winter curveball at us, please issue us a foundation permit and let me start the earthwork. We have the right to have this footprint. Let us start the work. And if something were to ever come back through this design review process that required a structural component to move or change, that I would accept full responsibility to change it. And they both thought that was a pretty nice compromise, made a lot of good sense. And that's what we're looking for here is good sense, good common sense. I'll get back to you tomorrow. We need to check with our legal team. So the city throws legal at us again and comes back and says, no, we're going to design review. And that's we've concluded this discussion. And I said, again, how does that make sense? Issue me a foundation permit. If something needs to wiggle or jiggle, I take full responsibility. I was prepared to sign an indemnity, absolving the city of any responsibility. I mean, and issue us a foundation permit and let us start our project. Like I said, it's really taking the joy out of it. I'd love to sit down with an experienced architect and comb over the plan. But don't hold the whole permit over me and say, you're going to do what we want, or else. Let's play fair. Let's issue a foundation permit. That's a reasonable compromise. We'll get started. If something needs to wiggle or jiggle, or you have to introduce a new structural element, we do so. And we give the design reviewer their piece with us, and if we can all agree on something and it makes good sense, call it the change order. Call it a revision. And we come back and we carry on. That's another permit. That's the next phase of permit. But to say, no, we're not going to give you the foundation permit, we have the right to, we have the land, we meet the setbacks, but you hold it from us.
Mike, can you speak to that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would maybe just offer that if the review board wants to receive legal guidance, that our city solicitor is here tonight, so we could move into a closed session to receive that advice.
No, I think what I'd like to do is call the question.
Well, you can, but if there's still people to have questions,
I'm just
then,
calling the question.
then as the chair, I can,
Yes,
I can let
that's
people
your,
still
your
answer
presiding officer, but I'm
questions.
just calling the question.
Yeah, so if, are there any more questions?
I have one, I need something clarified.
Okay,
If we had an empty lot and we wanted to build a brand-new house, do we have to conform to all of the guidelines of the 500 lot? If it's built within the 500 lots?
I can't answer that, but I'm sure
Can
that
I?
our planner can, or,
Just my personal opinion,
well, let's get, before we do personal opinions, let's
Well-
get fact.
here on the design review board, we have a structure that is significant. Not saying it's heritage, I'm saying it's a significant structure. I would also state very clearly that the streetscape and neighborhood location of West Street is also significant. And we're not here to talk about a hypothetical vacant lot. We're here to talk about the actual merits of amending this existing building to improve its functionality, to create the sense of purpose that the owners want to attach to it, and balance that against the community interest of the 500 lot principles. That's the purpose, not a hypothetical empty lot. We're talking about an actual application that is real.
Thank you very much for that, Brian. If there were no other questions, I just
I have
remind.
one
Oh,
question,
yep,
sorry.
Go ahead, Jackie.
So it won't be a hypothetical question. The lot that was severed off of our property has a new house built on it that was not required to go through design review. Okay, it does not conform to all of the guidelines in the 500 lots, and I'm just wondering why we are being treated so differently.
3.14.
So that's a
subsection
question,
1A.
Laurel, can you answer that question?
Hmm.
I think you answered it before, but that you could
Did.
answer it again. Yep.
Yes, Madam Chair, because that is a new build. It's a new lot, it's a new build within the 500 lot area. There isn't a requirement under the bylaw to push that through design review. It's the first, if you read this first line, the design review process shall apply to the following building and/or development permit applications for an affordable housing development in or outside the 500 lot area, and properties located within the 500 lot areas defined and described in Appendix H, new construction of any non-residential use or of a multi-use residential building.
Great, thank you for that. And just to build on that, tonight, the board, is here to deliberate. The decision is, it's not about architectural preference or heritage designation. It's about whether the threshold in section 3.14.1D has been met and whether it is appropriate to impose design review process on a single-family renovation in this circumstance. So just tying it back, that is the decision of design review this evening. Okay. And you have your light on, and I don't want you to not have a chance to speak again, but if your light is on, no, okay. Your worship,
Yeah.
your light's on.
Yeah, I'd like to give an example of a non-residential use. When we expanded the Fitzroy Parkade, it came here, and I remember Brian Gillis had some issues about the design, and I think we followed up on that, and there was a design review process. So that was a non-residential use.
Anyone was asking about non-residential
No,
uses.
I'm just giving an example.
Yeah,
Question.
yeah. So if there's no other questions, we'll call the question, and the moved by His Worship, seconded by Brian, to accept staff's recommendation to proceed with the design review process. So all those in favor? Yes.
He moved it. Yes.
I stand corrected. Okay, moved by Brian, seconded by His Worship, to accept staff's recommendation to proceed to a design review process. So all those in favor? Counselor Beck and Jackie?
In favor.
Okay, and there's no opposition to that. So that will, given the board's decision, will proceed to a design review process. And as our planner pointed out, that it will be in a relatively timely manner, which I appreciate that. And so I guess we'll move on to introduction of new business. Seeing none, motion to adjourn. Moved by His Worship and seconded by Councillor McCabe. Thank you, everyone, for coming in.
Thank you.